Hey guys, what's up? GarageKing here, and we have a 2008 Ford Escape four-wheel drive, and we've just lifted it, and as you can see, the exhaust actually is just broken. Rotted right out. So after this video, you're gonna know how to replace the exhaust on a Ford Escape 4x4. So we can see the customer's done a good job at tying it up, so that was good. Saved, I guess, saved the road ripping it right off, so when she was driving. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace it from the converter back, so let's get to it. Okay, so we are underneath the vehicle, this Ford, and here's our nuts. You can see there's nuts. Come on, guys. So you can see they're pretty much almost rusted right off, so yeah, I'll probably just take a welding torch or a die grinder. We'll decide what I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna cut them off. Because we're gonna have to replace this catalytic converter anyways, getting replaced, and the rest is getting replaced anyway, so we can just drop that. Actually, and because it's rusted off, that piece is zip tied or whatever, tied with a clothesline hanger, we can just undo that and that's gonna come right out. So these are the only really bolts we have to worry about. We might have a little bit of a leak here, but it's a really expensive part. So we're just gonna replace this and see how it sounds. Hopefully once we replace the converter, it'll be okay. So, but in the future, if we get another exhaust leak, then we know we need to replace this piece, which is right, if you look here, it's this whole front piece, and it connects right there to the one cat, and then it connects up here to the other cat. So yeah, or other exhaust piece. Yes, and another catalytic converter up there. So we got one, so it's a weird looking thing here. So anyway, we're gonna save that flex joint and replace everything from the converter back. That's what we're gonna do. So now let's get these exhaust off. So we're just gonna spray it with a little bit of penetrating fluid. Now because this is on an angle, you can see it just banging. Sometimes it's actually easier to take it off at the top and not here, but we'll try pulling it and we'll see what, whatever works best is what we're gonna do. So sometimes it's easier to take it off from the bottom here. You just pull it out like this. I'll show you with a pair of pliers. And we're just gonna see if we can squeeze it out here. There we go. I even have this handy dandy tool, but I bought it years ago, but I just never really use it. I always find that pliers seem to be the easiest thing to do, or use, I should say. There we go. That one's out. If I pan over here, you can see we got one more. There we go. Out. Now we were looking at the front here, so if I pan down, there's we took out the back already, the very end tailpipe. So I got to get these nuts off, and because we're not going to be replacing this piece, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut. This is a stud here, it goes right through, and then the nut goes on the back. But the problem is, as you can see, the nut is pretty much rusted off. There's like nothing at all to grab. So I could take a torch, I could heat it, I could try to cut it off and pin it out, but the problem is sometimes if you cut it, it almost welds to it, and then you can mess up the flange a little bit here, and I don't want to mess up the flange. Now this one here, I might be able to heat red hot, and just with a pair of vice grips, take it off. I think we're almost better just to cut them off, and then take the exhaust out that way. Okay, so we're gonna start cutting it off. I have safety glasses, here's proof. So I'm going to be wearing these to protect my eyes. And also whenever you're grinding, you're gonna have fine particles. So I actually wear a pretty good mask. I use this one, so you should always wear good safety gear.
I sound a little muffled. It's because my mask is on and it's gonna get noisy. So I also have some ear protection I put on. And because it's gonna get noisy, you're not even gonna be able to hear me. So I'm gonna put some music on in the background. And maybe I'll throw up Bandit and you can see him crawling around for a bit and having some fun. see there, I cut that one off. I'm still a little muffled because I'm wearing my mask and everything, so that's good. That's cut off. We'll just get a little air hammer. This one I'm having a little trouble just getting near the end, and that's because my wheel's getting small, so the diameter of the wheel's having trouble getting through because the back part of the tool here is actually starting to hit there. I might just get a bigger wheel or maybe just take that off with an air hammer, and then that's probably the best thing. Let's go get an air hammer and just take it off that way. Okay, got the air hammer here. Don't forget about our ears, eyes, all our hearing protection. And there we go. Just like that. Didn't take much. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a wire wheel and we're just gonna clean up this flange here. So I'm gonna change the adapter here to a wire wheel, just give it a little polish up. Okay, so ears, eyes still on. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a little polish. We got a decent finish there because we don't want to have an exhaust leak. Sorry if I sound a little muffled, I'm still wearing my mask. I don't want to take it off because I know there's tons of particles and crap under here in the air. So anyway, that looks much better. So now we'll start assembling our exhaust.
All right, so we have the flange cleaned up. You saw me polishing there, but you can see there's still quite a bit of just corrosion there, but it's all right. So a little trick that I use, just exhaust joint sealer. So what I do is I just put a little bit a little coating, and then I put the gasket on. Now, one word of advice when you buy this, maybe knead it first, or just be careful when you first squirt it. Maybe I'll throw up one of my other video sort of bloopers, what happened, and you can see kind of squirts all over the place. Ooh, what was that? So now we're just gonna go around the flange and put a nice little coating. There we go, just like that. That's good. Now we can see if our gasket will hold. Actually should hold it in place nicely. There we go. Okay, now we're just gonna put our bolts through. Doesn't really matter which side we put the nuts on. Might be easier to put the nuts on this side, so maybe we'll put our bolt through this way. There we go, that's one. There we go. And just like so, now we'll just tighten it up. And there we go, half part's down. Now if we pan down, just to show you what I've done, we have the converter bolted on. It's up in its mount right there. And now we're going to put the muffler and the rest of the other pieces I have laying on the floor. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna put this piece through because we don't want the muffler hanging. So this piece is supported by these little mounts here. So we're gonna twist this and put this piece in as best we can. Now, let's see, we just gotta, there we go. Let's put this end mount in right here and first. So from the back of the vehicle, this is how we're looking. So we got our end mount and it's gonna go right in there. And we got our other one right there. So it's easier to put this one in first because you can see the bend in there. So we wanna get this one in first. There we go, that one's in. And now if we pan here, we can see we can put the other one in. There we go. There we go, and this piece is in. So now that that piece is in, there's the other part. We can see this piece now is just swinging like this, and we have a gap right in the center, and that's where our muffler will go. The way it goes in, this pipe actually goes inside the muffler. You can see the muffler's expanded. So whenever you put a slip joint together, I like to put a little bit of that exhaust stuff on there. That exhaust, not stop leak. It's kind of like stop leak, I guess. There, guys, come on. What is it called? Whatever it is. I showed you it earlier. It's this white stuff. All right. Someone's gonna say you didn't show what it was. Okay, there it is. Exhaust joint crack sealer. So that's what I use. So I'm just gonna coat some on the inside of here before I put it on. This way when we clamp it, we won't get a leak here. We don't need any on this flange because that's nice and smooth now. And we have we have our new gasket to go there. There we go. Okay, now that we have our exhaust lined up, it's still loose. We still have to clamp it. As you can see, it's still loose. But now what we got to do is we got to line up these two parts right here. So we're just going to line them up. We have our gasket and some bolts. There we go. There's one. Put the nut on just to hold it, just like so. And we'll make sure. There we go. There, now that this is on, we can clamp this tight, line it up. I just used what stock bolts I had. Nothing wrong with that. And then now, looks like it's looking good. So I'm gonna grab my wrenches, I'm gonna tighten this up. And then we gotta put a clamp on the front part. Oh, that's nice and tight. And we'll just make sure this side's tight. There we go. So that's great. So if we look at our whole exhaust, it is almost done. So the only thing we have to do now, this is what we do, we wait for the very end for this part. Right here, we have to put a clamp. On this particular exhaust system, this clamp is 2 1/4 inch. There we go, and we're just gonna set our clamp there. I'm just gonna go get a socket. And some guys will zip them tight with an impact, but you don't really need to. You can just do them hand tight, and then we'll run the vehicle and make sure that there's no leak. I'm gonna show you something. I just did that by hand. And if I pan to the very top, okay, and we focus sort of there, you can actually see the clamp is actually starting to pull it down right there and bending it. So that's enough. That's all that we need. So it doesn't actually have to be that tight. Too many people reef on these things, and then when you tighten it too tight, you actually get exhaust leaks. So you don't want to do it that tight. Exhaust is done. Hopefully you've enjoyed my video. Hopefully you've learned something. If you like my videos, please subscribe. I would appreciate that. Okay, if you want to see what type of tools I used for this type of job, you can't really say what type of tools you're going to use. Actually, I didn't even use that. I don't know why that's there. So I used some pliers to help push the hangers out of the rubber brackets. I used a 17 mil wrench, but I mean, it really depends whatever kind of bolts you put on. Cutoff wheel was kind of important here. You saw how we used it. And then I used an air hammer just to loosen it up at the end. And then the clamp had just a 14 mil socket. That was the actual clamp. But other than that, you don't need a lot of tools. It depends, because all the bolts are going to be different sizes. Exhaust is kind of a little bit custom. However whatever bolts you put in, I would recommend putting the biggest bolts that fit in the holes, because if you put bolts that are too small, they may flex and leak. So other than that, not a lot of tools. And then I of course, I used my exhaust sealer with the gasket. So that's about all I used. So if you've enjoyed the video, hopefully you subscribe. Any questions, I answer all my questions below. So thank you. GarageKing over and out.